Hi everyone, a bit different today. I'm going to be sharing my screen and showing you guys all how I like to plan out my wall treatments. Now I use Adobe Illustrator, but if you watched my video about how to do floor plans, you can do the same thing just on your walls. Just take your measurements of your walls, draw out in pen the things that you can't change like windows or doors, and then you can play around with pencils and alter your wall treatments for what you need. Okay, today I'm going to be going over how to create different layouts for wall treatments using Adobe Illustrator. This is the program I really like to use. I have like a graphic media design background, so that's what I learned in school. And I just find it's pretty easy. You can use other CAD programs or kind of anything basically that you can make perfect dimensions and then easily move the shapes around. So, I mean, you can even do it in Word or like PowerPoint, but I like this program and this is kind of what we're going to get to. This is my room. This is what I've been working on, but I'll show you from the starting. So I'm in Adobe Illustrator and I'll just go File, New. And I mean, it doesn't matter which one you choose. You can put in your dimensions right away or you just start creating. This is your artboard. So this I like to make as the floor plan. And my room is, let's say it's a 10 by 12. It is my room. It's a bit different, but I'll just say it's perfectly 10 feet is like times 12 inches. It's 120. And then 12 that way. And then we'll zoom in. There we go. So I'm right now in using the points. You can actually make your room like perfectly to inches by changing your scale. And the way I do it really quickly is I just go to rulers, show rulers, and then if you right click, you can change it to what actual inches, centimeters, millimeters, whatever. But as long as you know it'll be to scale, it'll just be a bit smaller in real life. So let's say this is my room layout and I want to put a queen size bed. I'm just choosing a square, drawing it in here, and a queen size bed is 60 by 80. And then I'm going to put that in my room like that. Now, I want to talk about doing wall treatments. So let's say we want to, I'm just going to put like a little thing here because to show you that we're going to be working on this wall right here. This wall is my 10-foot wall, so I'm going to draw another artboard right above it. And I'm going to line it up, just kind of go like that. And then by selecting your artboard, you can change the dimension. So this wall is proper, and I want to put the height to 96 because my walls are 8 feet, which is 96 inches. Now, I have this perfectly to scale like my room. You're going to measure it. I do have a video about how to measure and create layouts, so that's kind of what you're going to do. And let's say that this is an easy wall and there's no windows or anything. So the first thing I like to plan when I'm doing any kind of trim or molding treatment is what I know is going to be in the room. So I'm going to say almost 100% of the time you're going to have baseboards. So I'm going to draw a little baseboard and I'm going to change the scale of my little lines just because they're pretty thick when I'm at this small size. So this will be a lot like better looking visually. So I just kind of traced out my baseboard from one side to the other. And you're going to look at the scale here. So what I do is I go on like the hardware store website or like Matrix or any trim store that you're going to be using. Find out what the height of your trim is. My baseboards for my room I chose are 6.5 inches tall. So I'm just putting that dimension up here, and then I'm going to drag that down. And then you can color this in or you can leave it white. I'm just going to make it like a light gray just so you can differentiate between kind of the plain wall that I don't have anything and where my baseboard and my trims are. So next, I'm going to say for my room, I'm doing like square paneling. So again, I'm going to look at the hardware store website. I'm going to look and see what the dimensions of the woods are that are available. I already did that and I chose a 3.5 inch thick. So what I do is I kind of trace out the shape here just by hand, and then I'm going to take my little cursor and you can move it around, but you know that it's not actually to scale. So we're going to change the width of it up here to 3.5, and then I can kind of change the height how I want it. And as long as I don't go again, I want to keep that perfect width, I can move it around like that. So I can go like that. So this is, say if I put it this way, and then I'm just taking like my hand, I'm pressing the shift key and then just rotating over. So I can go like that, rotate it. You can make different angles, whatever you want. So let's say I know I want to put one over here, and I'm just going to copy it by holding the Alt and then the Shift to make it perfectly in line. And I know I want these two perfectly on like each edge of my room. Now, let's say I also want to put one at the top. And I'm using, again, the same 3.5-inch molding and just putting it on the top. And lining it up there, you'll see it snaps into place and snapping that into place. See how I could have went a bit too far, but I want to make sure it stays perfect. So, I mean, at your top, you can also put crown molding or whatever. We're going to do a regular kind of board and batten boxes, like what I have. So now this is where you got to kind of play with what you want to see. So I'm going to maybe decide that I want one perfectly centered in the room. So again, I'm going to go click on one of the ones on the sides, press the Alt, the Shift, and then it'll snap into the center. So now that's perfectly in the center. And I can do the same thing up here with this one, press Alt, Shift, and intersect in the center. So now I have these 4 perfect kind of rectangular shapes. Now what I do is I can take another little square here, and I'll make this like a bright color so you'll see. And then I can just go like this and measure it. And that's like really bright. But then it'll tell me what the exact dimensions are. So if I'm planning this in my room, I'll know like where to mark on the wall or whatever once I have it. Or at least it'll give me some sort of idea if I need to, say, order a different trim or wallpaper or something just for this one area. I know what the dimensions are. So that's almost 55 inches, almost 40 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to delete that. Now, let's say we wanted to add a bit more. I'm going to go and just hold my Alt Shift again, and then I can start to play with the dimensions. And see how my version of Illustrator at the bottom, it's letting me like perfectly line up my pieces. So that looks really good right now. And then I can just cheat and then just select both of these at the same time. So I just press the Shift key, and then I can go and then just move them over like that. And then you see again at the bottom, it's showing me like that they're perfectly lined up. So then I can do the same thing. This is kind of the center, and then the center. So it's snapping it. Oh, that's not really the center. Oh, it's because I don't know. Oh, it's the center of like this one, and it's like not perfectly centered with the room, so that's why it's a bit off. But it's easy. We can move this up and down. We can delete that or move this one to the center of like the artboard and not of this. And you can also do that by clicking this one, which will take you into the center of your artboard, and then center again, which is like this wall. And then we can move this and then move this one down. So then there's some perfect squares. All this planning on the computer is going to do, this doesn't look as centered either, but anyways, is that I can now measure all these like pieces of trim here, and then I can order my trim. So rather than just ordering a bunch of trim and getting it wrong and then having to order a bunch more, this kind of helps you. So basically you do all the math, add all your pieces up, and then that's what you order, and then do get like 1 or 2 extra just in case you have to cut again or whatever. So this is how you do like a perfect box trim. These are kind of all little squares. This one doesn't look as nice, but you can play around with it. Here I am. I realize I can make a little cute video in case you want to see my face, the bottom there. I have the same 10 by 12 room here that I just had. This is an option if you wanted to say like 3 perfectly even like boxes, frames, and then these are 2.5-inch moldings, and I made them centered in the room. Now I'm just gonna show you quickly like how I've planned it out for the other rooms that I've done kind of like extensive molding treatments. If I'm doing like a regular board and batten, I've done it in the hallways before where I just kind of go and measure it at a time. So here is the last nursery we just did. This is at our old house. So I have here kind of here's the floor layout, and I've shown the space before, or I've like shown these images individually, but this is kind of how I work on it together. So this wall is like this wall, this left wall is this wall is this wall, blah, blah, blah. I also have the doors drawn in. I have the outlets marked out. Like it's pretty extensive. And then even here, even though I painted it all the same color in real life, I have it color coded to the different moldings that I needed to order. So this is like the flat stock I had here. Then I had the inside pieces. I had a chair rail. Like it's pretty layered how it ended up. And then I just have this last one here, which is kind of when I was exploring different options when I did our first nursery. And I ended up going with like this really cool diamond one. But I did kind of plan out different ones. I mean, this is what's fun for me is kind of playing around and working on it, and it's a lot easier to do the computer, and then I can decide how much moldings I need to order, and I can, you know, work out the dimensions so I have a plan going into the space rather than trying to work it out on the wall and measure and kind of put tape or whatever. I find it a lot easier for me to do it this way. And I'm hoping that I've taught you guys something here today. So please let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully the room works out.